We are on to our last session of today's Global Reuse Summit. If you've just joined us, welcome. I'm Natalie Fay and I'm the founder of City to Sea. So in this last session, I'm going to be having a conversation with Esrat Karim, founder of the Amal Foundation, about her work as as an advocate for social reform and women's empowerment, and how she's worked with communities to create lasting change. Esrat's been an advocate for social reform and women's empowerment for many years, and her humanitarian efforts have been recognised and celebrated, and she was listed on 2020's Forbes Under 30 in Asia. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for being here today.
Well, it's an honor for me.
Oh, well, likewise. We're really looking forward to finding out more about the amazing work that you're doing with communities in Bangladesh and how it relates to the conversations that we've been having here today about plastic and global reuse systems. So let's start, as we are with most of our guests, just finding out a little bit about you and the work that you've been doing in the world.
Of course. So, well, I'm Esrat. I'm from Bangladesh, and I was born and raised in a small town in Bangladesh, and from there I started my journey. I was so much invested in development work that I decided that I'll start my career in development sector. So I had my master's in social entrepreneurship from the University of Colorado, and then I came back in Bangladesh and started Amal Foundation, which is a non-profit organization. And we were working in various sectors, but mostly focusing on the environmental, like vulnerable areas of Bangladesh, and helping lots of women and children all over the country.
Amazing. And for you personally, what were you born that way? Was there a moment when you realized that you wanted to do something to change things? I'd love to hear that.
Well, I was a very shy girl. Still, I'm a very shy girl. I can't look into someone's eye when I'm talking. I'm always looking down in the floor and talking. But there were moments, there were time that actually awoke that situation to help somebody to step forward, because I have seen so much in Bangladesh, especially for the women and the children. They have been through so much injustice and so much of differences, and they have nowhere to go, nowhere to talk. So I had to step forward and had to be the person. I had to get out of my comfort zone to help them.
I love that story, and I think that's really brave of you to answer the call, even though it's out of your comfort zone. I remember when I started City to Sea, I was completely terrified of the sea. I had a complete phobia of the sea, but when I went towards it and started doing things to heal it, it certainly changed my relationship with it. But I'm a real respect for that transition and what you're doing. So you've dedicated your life to trying making those communities in Bangladesh a more healthy and happy place for the underprivileged children and women. What does that look like for you? And what are some of the biggest challenges currently experienced by communities, in particular women there?
Wonderful question. So mostly in the areas where I work, those are really hard to reach areas, like river islands, coastal areas, also with the refugees, displaced communities in Bangladesh. So mostly you will find there's no electricity, no sanitary toilet. Even women are being, little girls are being married at the age of 8, 9 years old, lots of cases of child marriage and gender discrimination. And all our work is based on those areas. We are building system for education, healthcare, and environmental friendly projects, livelihoods. And for me, a healthy and happy future for them would be where everybody is well accepted. There's a safe and secure community for everyone, and they can live up to their dreams. That's how I say it.
Hugely important work. When it comes to single-use plastic, I'm curious to know how much of it you've seen, I guess, particularly in the river and coastal communities, and how big a problem is it? And are you seeing any examples of refill and reuse?
So single-use plastic is one of the biggest problem of Bangladesh right now. If there is containers, plastic bottles, those are being picked and being sold by the people of grassroots because they get some money, and those bottles are being used for making yarns, and those yarns are being used for making t-shirts, athletic t-shirts. But you can't do anything about those single-use plastics, wraps, packets of chips and whatnot. So it ended up clogs all the drainage system, and it just ruins everything. Lots of floods are happening because of this, and all those environmental damages. But most interesting thing is that we're not used to, in those areas, especially in those communities, people were not used to use of those single-use plastics. They were more friendly with the banana leaves, like all those natural things they were using. Then all these multinational, national companies burge in, and they will forcefully introduce all those things, and people will get used to using all those things. And now they're suffering because all those things are like piling over each other. It's like Everest mountain of landfills of single-use plastics. So it's definitely a bigger problem, and we have to go back to that older practices of using natural things.
And it's hard to turn that around, isn't it? And I imagine there's not, from what you're saying, there isn't the proper infrastructure there to deal with that amount of plastic that's coming in. And a lot of it sounds like it's very hard to recycle anyway, even if there was recycling.
Of course.
So can you see communities, is there a will and a motivation to kind of, does it feel like people don't want to go back to the old ways, or have you got any examples of where that's happened, or reuse schemes in action?
So in terms of reusing things, Bangladeshi people are very resilient, and they believe in cost-cutting things. We do reuse some of the things, like the plastic bottles. You'll see people putting cooking oils in the plastic bottles. You'll see lots of ice cream containers are being used to put food and things like that. But there's a less use of the single-use plastic. And people are trying, like lots of innovators, entrepreneurs are trying to bring something new, something innovative. But so far, it hasn't come up with some effective results. And the government is patronizing as well, but nothing is fruitful so far. So this has been one of the biggest challenges Bangladesh is facing. Another thing is cigarette butts. This is also destroying our country, and we just don't know how to dispose it, how to clear our environment from it.
Okay, so it's still currently a growing pollution problem,
yes,
without at the moment enough kind of resource or infrastructure to then implement the solutions to that. And is that the same like in terms of like menstrual products and waste as well?
Yes, of course. Some of the very young entrepreneurs of Bangladesh, they have introduced biodegradable menstrual like sanitary napkins, but those are not very highly introduced in the market because obviously they're young entrepreneurs. They don't have that money for funding for marketing the whole products. But this is getting very popular. Apart from that, it's a big problem in Bangladesh, and we are really working towards it, creating awareness, especially in terms of disposing it. Right now, everything is being put into fire, all those single-use plastics, sanitary napkins in the landfills. And recently, you would find in the news that we had a biggest layer of methane gas over Bangladesh. And there might be some correlation to it.
Absolutely, yeah. The chemical, the toxins that are released through the burning of plastic. Yeah, it really is an environmental justice issue that,
of course,
communities that you're working with are having to deal with this kind of plastic waste. So, just finally, in maybe less than a minute or in a minute, what support do you need from business and policymakers to help you do the work that you're doing?
First of all, for the policymakers, it would be strong law enforcement. All the laws are present there. And Bangladesh is the first country which actually forbid the use of polythene bags in the world. We did it, but there's not proper law enforcement against it. So law enforcement, and second, for the business person, maybe they could be less, they could cut off some of their interest on profits and things like that. And they would be more friendly to the nature of reuse, refilling behavior, because lots of their benefits and profits are related to, all those plastic industries and so many things, more products and all. So they have to be a little bit less selfish, I think.
Yeah, I think it would be a good message for the whole world, really, isn't it? Be a little bit less selfish. Well, you're certainly embodying that by the work that you do in the world. And yeah, I wish you huge success and lots of energy and resilience as you go forward with that. So thank you so much for coming and sharing some stories of what's happening on the ground in Bangladesh.
Thank you so much.
Esrat Karim from the Amal Foundation. Thank you.